A new analysis by the CDC finds that the United States has received a fail when it comes to comprehensive sex education. Now, what the CDC looked into was very specific topics that they recommended school districts teach their students to protect them from unwanted pregnancies, STDs, and other risky things that happen when you are engaged in sex, okay? So they found that fewer than half of high schools and only a fifth of middle schools teach all 16 sex education topics recommended by the agency. Nearly half of teens, though, report having had sex, and nearly a quarter of new HIV infections occur among people under the age of 25. So that's a little disastrous.
Yeah, no, let's not educate them. That's probably not a good idea. Right?
No, here's the crazy thing. A huge percentage of teenagers are sexually active by the 9th grade.
No, I highlighted that. 30% of teenagers are already sexually experienced in the 9th grade.
That's insane. And so the problem, if you look at grade school in general, is a big problem. But if you look at middle school specifically, which is when they're supposed to get this information, it's abysmal, right? Because there's this thought process that, hey, they're middle schoolers, they're young, they have no idea what they're doing, they're not interested in sex. But you got to teach them before they're sexually active. That way they can protect themselves as much as possible. You don't wait until they're seniors in high school. They're already having sex.
So that stat is so depressing for me for two completely different reasons. One is that, like, really, 30% by 9th grade. I wasn't within miles of being sexually active in 9th grade.
I know. You're 21, right?
No.
Oh, you was.
Okay.
It was so sweet.
Okay. Anyway, so okay, so that's depressing for that reason. And now I'm now so old. I've got kids, and I'm like, by 9th grade, no.
Yeah.
So it scares me on both ends. But as a person who has young kids, I'm not an idiot who's like, no, must protect them from all the bad things in the world. The way we do that is ignorance.
Yeah.
Because I don't regularly do this as a parent. No, you educate them. And so that they have a good sense of what's right and wrong, what's safe and not safe, because they are Homo sapiens. And as, members of this species, we have certain drives, and they start at a certain age. That's around puberty. These are facts. They're the most immovable facts on the planet. So we better get used to them and educate people accordingly.
So the stats are really interesting if you look at the specific topics. When it comes to abstinence, which, by the way, the CDC recommends that the comprehensive sex ed curriculum include abstinence. That makes sense. The numbers are through the roof, right? Any school that's teaching sex ed will be like, don't have sex. That's the worst thing you can do. The abstinence is included.
Wow, great education.
Yeah, when it comes to things like condom use, of course it drops. When it comes to things like teaching the kids how to put a condom on, the number is even lower. They're like, we're not going to talk about that. This is my favorite stat of all time. Okay, let's go to graphic number 26. Only 18 states require sex education to include information on contraception, and a mere 13 require their programs to be medically accurate. Think about that for a second. Only 13 states require the sex ed to be medically accurate.
They're like, hey, you can do sex education. Just don't worry about it being accurate. Just, make some stuff up, have some fun. That's ridiculous.
Amazing.
Now, maybe they just didn't write that into the legislation, but they probably should have. I'm proud of my home state of New Jersey. They said an impressive 89.5% of schools in New Jersey actually teach all of the proper sex education methods. So we're number one in the country. So that's great. But I will say the only silver lining I take away from this is, I know our schools and our communities are knuckleheads about this en masse. By the way, the worst state is Arizona. Only 21% of the schools teach it right. But now there's this thing called the internet. So I feel like the kids are probably beginning to learn it on their own. I'm at least hopeful about that.
No, but that's actually a disaster. That's why we need comprehensive sex ed now more than ever before, because a lot of kids right now are porn educated. So they'll watch the porn videos and they'll be like, oh, that's what sex is supposed to be like. I put her in her ass and then I make her, whatever. But that's not what sex is for some people, for most people.
So those are your two choices, by the way. Parents, get real. Get real.
Yeah.
You're either going to have real sex education in school, or they're going to get taught that Like no condom, no, because you don't have to worry about getting pregnant because you finish somewhere else, right? Like that's what they're learning.
Yep.
You think they're not watching it? They're watching it. So teach them real sex ed.